Today we're going to talk about the best bourbons for beginners. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to Brad's Bourbon Reviews. I'm Brad, and today I've been getting a lot of DMs lately about, hey, I'm new into whiskey, I'm new into bourbon. What should I try? What do you think I would like? And that's always a really hard question to answer because I don't know what you've tried, I don't know what you like, I don't know what you've tried, I don't know what you've disliked. So this video is going to be like I can point people to this video and go, if you haven't tried those, start there. These are good starting points. None of these are allocated. None of these are over 101 proof. Bet you can guess what bottle's going to be in here. And I have reasonings for why I picked these specific bottles over other ones that are like in the same category. So hear me out once we get to these. Let's go ahead and get into the list. These are in no particular order. First up, we're going to start with a bottle that I think is great for beginners for a few reasons. First off, it's low proof. It's 93 proof. It is from a fantastic distillery, Old Forester. It is the Old Forester 1910, and the reason I picked this one is this is a double oaked version of Old Forester. It's really approachable. It's really sweet. It's something that bourbon dorks can get into like myself, and it's something that someone who's a beginner can also approach and enjoy and learn to pick up certain notes. It's also readily available pretty much at any decent liquor store. They're going to have the Whiskey Row series. It's not expensive. It's like $50, something like that, $55, $60, and it's worth every penny. Old Forester 1910. If you haven't tried it or you're like afraid of trying a double oaked, this is a really solid lower proof option for a double oaked, and it's really approachable. And if you don't like Old Forester 1910, you probably won't like double oak as a category in general. I know that's a gross overgeneralization, but I would tend to think if you didn't enjoy this, you probably won't like double oak, or you're at least not ready for it yet with your palate. Moving on to the next one. Up next is a distillery that I absolutely adore. This is Redwood Empire Pipe Dream. This comes in at 90 proof, so a little over that like 80 proof threshold for most, beginner whiskeys. I think that this is a really, really solid bottle. I fell in love with this first time I tried it. I think that there are really, really distinct notes that you can lean into this bottle and learn how to pick up on. This bottle is like really available as well. I don't know if it's as available as the Old Forester will be. I doubt it, but these are pretty much all over the place. And if you haven't tried Pipe Dream yet, give it a shot. I think you'll really, really like it. It's probably my favorite out of like their base lineup. I think the 90 proof version of this Redwood Empire Pipe Dream is like really solid. So if you have seen this bottle and you've kind of overlooked it, it's not expensive. You'll like it. And if you don't like it, the beauty of all these are they're not that expensive, and if you hate it, you can always mix it and use it in cocktails and stuff. So it's really good. Give Redwood Empire a shot. They are fantastic. Moving on to the next one. All right, moving on to the next one here, and this one is probably the hardest one to find on this list. I mean, is it allocated? Sure, maybe. I see it sitting on shelves nowadays at like Walmarts and stuff from time to time. Not all the time. It's not always available. But this is Nav Creek 12 year. The reason I picked this one is because this is relatively inexpensive for the age statement on it, and I think this is a really good way to take someone who is looking to get into something a little lower proof. It's 100 proof, okay? So it's not no proof, but it is a really great bourbon if you are trying to show someone what a really good bourbon is. I said in a thumbnail famously one time, I think this is like the perfect representation of bourbon. I don't mean that is the best bourbon, but this is like the most bourbon-y bourbon of all time. You got really distinct caramel, vanilla, and cherry notes on it. It's got a really solid age statement. At retail, it's not very expensive. I think it's like $75, $80, something like that. Yes, that is not cheap. I understand that, but you also are getting a 12-year-old age-stated bourbon. I think for the price and the fact that Nav Creek just makes incredible bourbon, a banger. And like this was one of my first rare and expensive bottles that I picked up when I was starting out in bourbon. So I highly recommend this one. It's solid, and you can't go wrong with it. Moving on to the next one. All right, next up is probably a surprise to people that I'm putting this on the list. This is Maker's Mark 101. Why Maker's Mark 101? Because I think this is the best thing that Maker's Mark makes. If you don't know, Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon, which means that it's 51% corn, at least by law, and the secondary grain, instead of being rye, is wheat in the mash bill. So usually that makes it a more sweeter, a more approachable thing. And I think Maker's Mark, other than maybe Weller, but I think Weller's for like bourbon dorks. I don't think the average person knows what Weller is. I think the average person knows what Maker's Mark is. I think I'm safe in saying that Maker's Mark is probably the most popular wheated bourbon on the planet. And to me, as someone who is not a huge Maker's Mark fan, this is what I think they do best. Maker's Mark 101 is fantastic. To me, it's better than their cask strength. This one is like a special edition kind of, but like it's not really. I mean, I see these sitting on shelves in almost every liquor store I go to for around $50. Really can't be beat for what it is. The reason I did so many different types of bourbons in this list is for you to like kind of see what category you like. Do you like double oak? Do you like wheated? Do you like rye? Do you like high rye? What do you like? And I think this is a really, really good representation of a really good wheated bourbon. Moving on to the next one. This one might be the most technically hard to get on the list just because of distribution. This is not available everywhere, but this is Early Times Bottled and Bond. The reason I picked this one is this is a 100 proof bourbon. It is absolutely delicious. You can drink it neat. You can make it in cocktails. You get a liter for anywhere between like 15 and 30 bucks. I've seen them be as low as 15 sometimes at some Total Wines. I've seen them as high as 30. When I go to North Carolina, South Carolina, that's where they're at. They're like 29, 25, 29, something like that. You literally, I know I've said a few times, you can't do much better than that bottle. For the price, you can't do better than this for 30 bucks, period. It's not the best kept secret because it's not really a secret anymore, but this stuff is amazing. I love this. I have turned friends onto this. I remember when I found it one time, they were like making fun of me. I'm like, you don't know? You've never had it. Trust me. Like, I know it sounds crazy that I'm like excited to get like a $15 bottle at a Total Wine, but I'm telling you, if you have this in your city, get it. Now, don't get the regular Early Times because that is trash swill compared to this. But if you can find the Early Times Bottled and Bond, do it. And if you can find the black caps, apparently these are better. I haven't opened mine yet, so I don't know. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I want to even go. I like Early Times now. I don't want to not like it. This is that much better. So I don't know if I'm going to open it or not. I probably will at some point. If you can get Early Times in your area, or it can be like delivered to you like via fruit bat or something, do it. You're gonna love it. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. Moving on to the next one. This one is allocated in some places. I feel like it's not allocated anymore. This is Buffalo Trace. This is a store pick. Ignore that. I just don't know where my regular one went. I don't need to say anything. If you're getting into bourbon, you've heard of Buffalo Trace. The 90 proof Buffalo Trace branded bourbon is fantastic for what it is. Do not overpay for it. Don't spend 50, 60 bucks, but for 25, 30 bucks at 90 proof, that quality bourbon is crazy. It really is. I know people say it's overhyped. To me, it's not. If you peel all that back and you just take what's in the bottle for what's in the bottle, I mean, it's really good for 20, 25, 30 bucks. So if you have not tried this somehow, I would urge you to do so. Moving on to the next one. I know some of you watch this and going, we're getting close to the top and he hasn't mentioned a Jack Daniels bottle yet. Is Jack Daniels going to be absent from this video? And the answer is, of course not. So I don't think you should try Jack Daniels Old No. 7. Everyone's tried it at some point. You either love it or you don't. I kind of still like it. I had it not too long ago. It's fine. It's not going to blow your socks off in any way. I promise you, you've never had Jack Daniels if you've never tried it that was this good. This is the Jack Daniel Bonded Tennessee Whiskey. This is the black label of the Bonded series. It is absolutely incredible. The way that I said Maker's Mark 101 is the best thing that Maker's Marks make, and like is a good representation of what they can do. That is how I feel about the Jack Daniels Bonded series as a whole, but specifically the black label one. It's 100 proof Jack Daniels. Unbelievable. It's just so incredibly good. Like, it's so full of flavor. I absolutely adore this whole series. I hope the series never goes away. If I find out that this is going away, I'm going to go buy, I'm not kidding, like 3 cases of each one, because I think they are just absolutely exceptional. They're not very expensive, 35, 40 bucks, somewhere around there, I think. If you're going to reach for a Jack Daniels that's not expensive and it's not a single barrel, this should be the one you're going for. Moving on to the next one. All right, another quintessential bottle here, I think, for bourbon fans, especially at least to try, see if you like it. This is Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. This is a 90.4 proof, so it's a little less proofy than the Old Forester 1910. Packs a lot of flavor. Again, it will kind of show you if you're into double oaked. The 1910, if you're like, not so sure, try the Woodford Double Oaked. If you don't like this, double oak's not for you. I think this one's more of a quintessential double oak than the 1910, but I think they are both very, very good examples of what double oaked can be. And if you have not tried this for some reason, go try it. It's more expensive than some of the other bottles on this list, but I think it's worth it for how good it actually is. And I have fallen in love with this thing again. I had it a long time ago, and I just never bought a bottle of it until like recently. And I have fallen back in love with this thing, and it's like, it's perfect for the winter months. It's fantastic. So if you haven't tried Woodford Double Oak, I highly urge you to do so. Moving on to the next one. All right, moving on to the next one here. Another wheated bourbon. I think wheated bourbons are great for beginners in general because they're more approachable, they're more sweet. They're going to be less astringent in most cases. And this is another one of those examples that's just fantastic bourbon for the price. It's from a great distillery, Bardstown. The Origin series just is insanely delicious. And this is my personal favorite, I think. I need to go back and do like a whole blind of them all and see what I like the best, actually. But this is the Black Label, a 6-year wheated bourbon. It is just phenomenal. These are available. I see them, but I hear people say they don't get these, so I don't know. I can only kind of go with what's in my immediate area, and these are kind of all over the place in my area. So, or at least they were when they dropped. So if you can find one of these Origin Series Black Labels, honestly, any of the Origin Series, except the rye, I don't really love the rye that much, but we're talking about bourbons. Any of the Origin Series bourbons are fantastic. You can't go wrong. I would just personally recommend the Black Label. I think it's the best of the three in my opinion, but I think it's another good representation of wheated bourbon and kind of a different direction for wheated bourbon. So if you can and have the ability to find this, I would say do it. I think you'll dig it. Moving on to the last. When I first started getting into bourbon, there was a brand that I always kind of was like, sure, they're fine. Like, they make shelf crap. No one likes them. No one really drinks their stuff, right? Like, it's kind of a joke. But I was wrong. And once I got further into bourbon, I understood like the importance of this distillery, the importance of the people who make the bourbon behind it, the importance of like how integral they are to bourbon as a whole, and really fell in love with the distillery and the history behind it. Everything I thought this was, Southern Comfort actually is. And I'm talking about Wild Turkey. This is Wild Turkey 101. This is another one for me, like the Jack Daniels Bonded, like the Maker's Mark 101. This is the best representation of like shelfer base level Wild Turkey. Yes, there's like an 80 proof version. It is nowhere near as good as Wild Turkey 101, and it's like $2 or $3 less. Spend the money, get the extra proof. You're going to be happy you did so. Give Wild Turkey a chance. It is fantastic. So I highly urge you to give Wild Turkey 101 a try. Wild Turkey can be kind of divisive sometimes, but I think they make some of the best stuff on the market for sure, especially in 2024. You look at Russell's 15 and the Camp Nelson F and B and all those amazing releases that they've done. It's hard to argue that they're not one of the best distilleries on the planet. So I highly urge you to give Wild Turkey 101 a try. And with that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching very, very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you leave a like, and if you liked the video, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, cheers. A big thank you to all the Patreon supporters you see on screen right now.